This is Villa Kenworthy, and today we're going to check out the garden. Welcome to Villa Kenworthy. I'm Dennis, and today we're going to take a little tour through my garden as I get it started for the year. I'll show you some of the things I do in preparation, and then there will be more videos to follow showing you how I take care of the plants as they grow. So this is the newest compost pile I'm starting. I start a new one every year. I usually let my grass get a little bit long in May, and then whenever I trim it, I've got a fair amount of grass that I get out of the front yard and the back, and I mix that with leaves that I collected from last year. I'll take all of the leaves in my yard and I chop them up with my lawnmower, I bag them and I dump them in a pile, and then I combine those with layers. I start with some of the old chicken manure that I've got. I put a base layer of that. I'll throw some green grass on top. Then I throw some leaves on top of that. I will wet it down with a hose, and then I build another layer. And I do that until I've used up all of the green grass I have. So it's just layer upon layer, and then you have to wet it down in between. That's what helps the bacteria grow, and that green grass is going to help create heat, which is going to in turn help make good compost. Here you can see some of the grass is still a little bit green, and you can see it's mixed with a little bit of dirt and mixed with a little bit of the oak leaves that I've collected from around the yard. Like I said, you just layer those up and you make sure they're good and wet inside, and they'll make a lot of heat for you. Here's some of the chicken manure. I clean out the coop several times a year, and then I just place it out here in a spot on my property, and I let it kind of decompose and set up. That way it's not too rich whenever I add it to the compost. Sometimes you can add a little bit of fresh stuff, but if you add that to plants too early, you'll burn the leaves. So here's the compost pile that I started last year. It's on a 2-year rotation, so the stuff that I started last year will go in this spot, and then next year this right here is going to be going into the garden and then into my tomato buckets. And so I just rotate everything around. So I like a good 2 years in between, and it creates a really nice, fine, fluffy compost soil. And then now I'm to the point to where I don't even mix it with any other dirt. I just use this straight up, and this is the first year I'm doing that. So we'll see how this goes and see if it causes me any problems this year. Now this right here still got the rest of the summer and into the winter to go, but as you can see, it's already starting to break up and make a little nice soil. I do sift this into a wheelbarrow before I take it into the garden, so I get rid of all the sticks and other debris that are too big. I like to have a nice fine soil, but this is breaking down nicely. As I restack this, I did go ahead and wet it down in between layers as well to help it break down even further. It needs that moisture for the bacteria. I'll just give you a nice overview. To the left here you have the buckets of tomatoes that I'm growing. Those are all indeterminate tomatoes, which means that they do not stop growing for the whole season. So they're going to continually grow and try to make new flowers to make new fruit. As we pan over, we'll look closer at these beds. I've got a little bit of cleanup to do here in the garden. These are our Roma tomatoes. We have one full bed of these, and then we have another partial bed. These are determinate, which means that they're going to grow to a certain size and produce a certain amount of flowers and fruit. So you do not prune these. I like to use the tomato cages, and we grow them up through there. I try to train them as good as I can, but sometimes they get away from me. And these are, again, the indeterminate tomatoes. I grow all of these in buckets so that I can train them up on a line. I'll take and tie that to the little hole you see in the bucket there, and then that line will go up here. You can see the old ones from last year. I'll tie it off to a nail, and then I'll train each tomato up, and I will prune them as they grow to make sure that I don't get any extra branches. I want one main stem, and I'll see if I can show you one of those suckers that comes off of this little guy right here. So I don't want that one to grow, so I need to prune that, and I'll just take and pinch it off, and I'll get rid of that. And that grows in between the main stem and any of the branches that come off. You don't want to do any at the top because you might accidentally top your tomato plant. So do it as they grow, and when they're big enough to actually pinch off, that's when you'll prune them. We'll do another video specifically on that, and I'll show you how to tie them up. For the indeterminates, I believe we have 41 plants in total. And then we've got another set of the determinants, and my total number is 75 tomato plants. And here's some of Yulia's strawberries. We've got some flowers on there, and we have fruits already starting to grow. So here in the next couple of weeks, we should be able to eat some. And here is a baby eggplant. I've got 8 eggplants going. And if you haven't ever grown eggplants, they're not too difficult. They're a great vegetable to have. You just have to know how to cook them. And if we get some good ones off of here, we'll make some cool recipes. And elsewhere in this bed, I've got some jalapeno plants. So I put those over here because they don't cross with the eggplants, and I don't have to worry about them encroaching on the bell peppers and making those too spicy. And here we have bell peppers, and I believe there's also a couple of banana pepper plants between this bed and this far bed over here. Now this pepper plant has started to turn yellow at the top. I'm not quite sure if that's a cause for concern yet. I might have to look that up, but I don't believe that's happened to me before. So I'll let you know how that turns out. And in this bed, we've got a couple dozen sweet corn that we're growing. We've had some success in the past, but I have higher hopes of this year to get more ears of corn off of them than we did last year. So on the other side over there, we have what we call large cherry tomatoes. They don't actually have a name. It's a hybrid of some of the sweet millions that we used to have and another plant we were gifted. We don't ever know what they were, but they kind of combined to create their own type of tomato, and we'll see what that turns out like. These right here, these are orange cherry tomatoes. We've been saving the seeds. We don't purchase new stuff. We just always save the seeds and see what happens. Over here in this bed, we've got some, I guess they're melons. They're either cantaloupe or musk melons. I don't really recall which, but we've got a few of those. We'll be thinning those out as we go to make sure it doesn't get too overgrown. I still like to keep them in the beds to manage them. Last year, a woodchuck ate all of them. Back here you can see our rhubarb plants. I've already cut off of those a couple of times this year, and we have them diced up and in the freezer. You want to get to those early before they get too woody and hard to chew on. And this here is one of my pear trees. I have 2 pear trees, and this will be the first year that they have an abundance of fruit on them. I think I'm going to end up with a couple hundred pears. Last year I got 1 in total, and I got to tell you, it was delicious at the end of the year. Now this is one of my apple trees, and this is going to be kind of an experiment for what we have here, because my other apple tree died last year when some deer ran through the fence and broke it. So this pollination has come from the pear trees, I believe, and I have no idea what we're going to get, but we have probably 30 different fruit on it. So this will be fun to watch, and we'll see what we get, and I'll absolutely shoot a video to see what it looks like. So this is one of my cherry trees. I have 2 of them. They are, I believe, called Montgomery. I'll check back on that just to confirm, but they're the ones that they have in Door County. The first one, which is the larger one here, was gifted to me for my birthday maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and then I got the other one a couple years later to match it. But I have lots of little cherries on it, and this will be the biggest harvest yet. I started learning about pruning the trees, and I'll make sure to do some videos over that as well to show you how I clean them up. But due to the pruning last year, there is just an abundance of little cherries on it. Well, thank you for joining us here at Villa Kenworthy. It's nice to be getting back to YouTube. I hope to be able to make quite a few more videos and to get back into the community and help to learn from y'all and have y'all send me messages and request things. And I get a lot of helpful comments as well. So it comes along. This nice little intro to the garden will show you some of the projects we're going to work on. We'll see how some of the plants turn out. I've done a few new things this year, but it'll be nice to have you along for the journey. And this is Frank Gallagher Jr. He's the 3rd rooster I've had, the 3rd lineage of rooster I've had, I guess. And we will see y'all next time. Take care.